Finally, after the longest bye week in human recorded history, the Miami Dolphins are back this Sunday and playing the Las Vegas Raiders. This is the preview video. If you're new here, throw me a subscription. I do Dolphin videos every Wednesday, and then I do a instant reaction after the game every week that the Dolphins play. This week, the Miami Dolphins are playing against the Las Vegas Raiders at home, 1 o'clock Sunday. Gonna be a great time, hopefully. And in my opinion, it's pretty damn close to a must-win game. We'll get into that in a second. But first, I just want to touch on how, even though it was a bye week, it was perfect. Chef's kiss, perfect. The New York Jets actually played against the Raiders, and we'll talk about that game more in a second. But even more importantly, the Buffalo Bills lost to the Denver Broncos and appear to have hit rock bottom. I mean, it was awesome. I don't think I've ever cheered as hard for a game not involving the Dolphins as I did on Monday night. I mean, the whole time when the Broncos were kneeling at the end, I was in my group chat with the boys and I said, I don't like this. I don't like the idea of kneeling while you're outside the 20-yard line in a cold, windy stadium. And sure enough, they missed the field goal. But they had 12 men on the fucking field, and then they go back out there, kick the game winner, and just seeing the Bills in shambles brings a smile to my face. It just does. I mean, there is no team I hate on more than the Buffalo Bills. Why? I don't know. I think it's probably because I'm from Buffalo, and their fans are insufferable. They're insufferable. And just notice how every time their camera pans to their fans, and it's always just a big group of fat motherfuckers with their face painted. I don't give a fuck. I'm hating, bro. And then when they're up by 1 point against the Broncos and they're all singing the song, they make me want to shout, everybody shout. They're all fucking cheering like they did something. Go fuck yourself, all right? I'm glad you lost and you had to take that intoxicated drive home and get to your fucking shitty, cold, one-bedroom apartments after spending $500 to see your team lose in that absolutely heartbreaking fashion. And that just is what it is. That's the beauty of it. I don't hate you people personally out here in Buffalo, but I do hate on your fandom. So I hope everything personally is going well, but I do hope the Buffalo Bills continue to lose, and that is why this is a must-win game for the Miami Dolphins. Currently at 6-3 on top of the division, and the Bills, obviously the only other team competing for the division, are sitting there at 5-5. So that means to me the Miami Dolphins have to win the games that they should. I know that there's this whole thing about them not being able to beat good teams. Fair enough. I mean, that shit doesn't really matter until it matters, right? I mean, I know that loss against Kansas City was a heartbreaker. We should have had it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the playoffs. It doesn't end the season. We move on. So these games coming up against the Raiders, the Commanders, the Jets, you gotta win them. You gotta have them. Because you know what? You drop a couple of these and all of a sudden that Ravens game, that Cowboys game, I mean, it gets real big. It gets real big. So, I mean, the Dolphins need this one, in my opinion. This is a game they should win. The defense for the Dolphins has been outstanding, particularly the defensive line. Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard together so far as advertised. I mean, you can't get sliced up by Aiden O'Connell. You can't. I fully expect the defense to really shut down the Raiders. And the Raiders really, I don't think they're going to pass 16 points. And they shouldn't pass 16 points. I mean, I'm not saying they won't, because certainly the Dolphins have disappointed us before. But when I look at the matchup, I do think it's favorable. And also, I'm a bit of a Raiders hater too, so, a little bit of hating going around. I'm in a hating mood today. So, anyway, no one gives a fuck about the defense. Let's talk about the quarterback and the wide receivers. Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. We've been missing these guys. And after a bye week, hopefully they're well rested and they get out there and they slice up the Raiders. And here's what I think. So, I don't know if I'll paste it in the description, but my favorite Dolphins YouTube channel right now is the All Dolphins podcast with Omar Kelly and Poopart. I think it's Adam Poopart. And they brought on a Raiders media member, or whatever you'd call him, journalist. And he believes that the Raiders are going to blitz the shit out of the Dolphins and basically injure Tua, was what he was getting at. And that's how the Raiders are going to find a way to beat the Dolphins. And it actually kind of got a little heated. So if you go look up that video, it's pretty entertaining. It seems like you could clearly tell that Adam and Omar are kind of pulling for the Dolphins. And that other guy, I don't remember his name, he definitely is confident that the Raiders have a shot here. So if the Raiders blitz, I can tell you right now that we should slice the shit out of them. We got the fastest receivers in football, and Tua gets the ball out quick, and that's what I want to see. I think if the Dolphins are going to win this game, it's going to be through the air. The Raiders are one of those teams that have that tough physical defense that the Dolphins tend to struggle with. That tough physical defense tends to kind of beat up on our offensive line that has been good this year, but hasn't been perfect. And if you notice those Eagles and Bill games where the defenses are bigger and stronger, that's when the offense shows signs of weakness. I think this is the week where Mike McDaniel has to have an answer for it. And to me, that answer is quick passes, slant routes, get it to Tyreek Hill, get him in space. And honestly, there should be a 60-yard touchdown in here somewhere. Quick pass to Hill or Waddle, and it should go for a long one. So for me, this game's going to fall into the hands of our quarterback, our beloved Tua Tagovailoa, who has had a great season, but he does need to watch it with the interceptions a little bit. Other than that, Tua is an MVP quarterback, and I fully expect the Dolphins to absolutely slice on both ends of the field. I've been wrong before, but usually I'm not wrong, right? I expect the Miami Dolphins to catch a win here, honestly. And so does Vegas. They're minus 12.5 right now, and I'd say that's a fair line. I'd still consider betting the Dolphins because I really do think all matchups in this game favor the Dolphins, especially with Aiden O'Connell. There's finally some film on him. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but I'm sure the Dolphins will have some kind of answer. Obviously, Devontae Adams, great piece. Josh Jacobs, great piece. They're definitely going to get some plays there. And the Raiders are going to get down the field at some points in this game. But it's a matter of not letting them into the end zone that I think can make the difference here. And when you got a young rookie like Aiden O'Connell, there should be some opportunities to, get some sacks and whatnot, turnovers, hopefully. And then on the other end, I got to quickly give a shout out to Max Crosby, one of my favorite non-Dolphins players. Did you see that interview where he pulls up the backwood really quick, takes that fucking gangsta puff, and then just continues with the interview? That man is blowing gas on a regular basis, and I totally respect it. He's a great football player. So, I respect greatness. And, those are three players that are pretty damn great. You got to watch out for them. But I still think that at the end of the day, I expect the Miami Dolphins to catch a body in this game. I'm going to say Dolphins win. Let's go 38. I'm going to go 38 again. 38-13. That's my guess. 38-13, the same score that the Dolphins beat the Patriots in Gillette in 2008, if anyone remembers that one. Oh, shit. And I remembered I'm going to do one more thing on these preview videos. I'm going to bring up three of my favorite memories or three of my favorite games that come to mind, or even heartbreaking games that come to mind when I think of the team that we're playing against. So for the Raiders, the first one that comes to mind was when I went to the Dolphins-Raiders game in 2018, and the Dolphins beat the Raiders. I don't remember the final score, but it was the game where Tannehill had 3 touchdowns, and they were down by 10 in the second half, and they did that play where they pitched it back to Albert Wilson, and he threw a touchdown to Jakeem Grant to take the lead. And at the end of the game, Tannehill did that little shovel to Albert Wilson, and Albert and Jakeem high-fived on their way to the end zone. And that was a really cool memory of being at that game. I remember going to Denny's before the game, and then after the game, going to get some pizza after the game, and then catching a flight home. That was a really cool memory. I was fat as fuck at the time. I mean, maybe I should pull up a picture of me. Or if anyone's curious to see how fucking fat I was at the time, just ask. I'll throw a picture in there. But I mean, I was obese. But it was still a great time, you know. That was a great memory of mine. Being with some family at that game. A lot of Raiders fans in there. And the Dolphins won. And then, what other memories do I have of the Dolphins Raiders? I'm trying to think. We really don't play the Raiders that often. The year before, you know, the one I can't stand. It was the year after. Or no, was it 2020? It was 21. We had Jacoby Brissett. It was in Vegas, and the Dolphins hopped out to a quick 14-0 lead before whoever the fuck the offensive coordinator was at the time threw a screen pass to Waddle in our own end zone, ended up being a safety. And then at the end of the game, the Dolphins were down by 8, and they got down the field, scored a touchdown, and ended up losing in overtime. That was a tough one. As far as a third game, I'm going to go with a little throwback here. 2010, the Dolphins played the Raiders. Chad Henne was the quarterback, and I remember he threw a long touchdown to Patrick Cobb, I think it was. Or was it Marlon Moore? See, my memory is skewed, but I know the Dolphins won that game, and that was a cool memory. All right, that's it. I'm not making any sense anymore. I'm fucking out of here. I will see you on Sunday after the Dolphins win. Bitch.